Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, where today we have a short but fun video that I wanted to share with you. As many of you guys know, I'm a part of the Game Changers program at Electronic Arts, and periodically I get exclusive access to a pre-release build of the game where I have a lot of stuff at my disposal to play around with, and a lot of people ask me, hey, while you're on this pre-release build, can you go ahead and try a Boba lead with a complete thermal detonator team? And I thought that was fun because no one has really tried it out, and I want to make this video to try to inform you about it before you go ahead and do some heavy investment, because as you will see in this video, it is not too good, and the gameplay made me want to claw my eyes out when trying to record something. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead, talk about the basic logic of this thermal detonator team. Why would I even bother trying this out? And I'll go ahead and tell you theoretically how did it sound like, how it played out in action, the issues, what my overall verdict is, and what they need to become a better faction or just a better thermal detonator synergy overall. So let's get right into it. The main thing driving this whole thermal detonator team, it's a rather odd but interesting leadership, and it comes from Boba Fett, which is known as Dead or Alive. So besides giving the typical 50% critical damage and 10% critical chance to all characters, bounty hunters gain 15 speed for each debuffed enemy, gain max health equal to 50% of the total potency of all the bounty hunter allies, and gain 15% turn meter whenever a thermal detonator explodes. So with that leadership in mind, I went ahead and got maxed out gameplay of all the bounty hunters or scoundrels that play around with thermal detonators, and there are 4 of them in the game. First one we have is Greedo, and he has an ability called Thermal Detonator. I know, it's very original, and it has an AoE ability where it just disperses thermal detonators all over the enemy field, which sounds like should work great in theory. The next fellow we have is Newt Gunray. He is just a scoundrel with an ability known as Grenade Toss. Again, these are very original names, and the only thing that's bad about this is he only can toss a thermal detonator on a single enemy and not on everyone. And similarly, we have Mob Enforcer. Yes, we have Gear 11 Mob Enforcer in this gameplay. And Mob Enforcer has an ability called Thermal Detonator, yet again, a great name, of course. And they also can only place thermal detonators on a single enemy. And lastly, we have Zam Wessel, and this is where things start to get a little interesting. First of all, their thermal detonator ability is known as See What Sticks, so at least we have something a bit more interesting, and this is an AoE thermal detonator toss. So just like Greedo, she will go ahead and disperse thermal detonators all over the field, and the interesting thing is she also has a basic attack which really relies on thermal detonators and kind of feeds well into Boba Fett's leadership. It's known as Detonating Shot, and when using this ability, all thermal detonators explode immediately. All those thermal detonator abilities I mentioned, you have to wait X amount of turns for them to finally go off. I made a debuff video guide. If you want to learn more about how thermal detonators work, go ahead and click on the little card up in the top right. But continuing on here, she goes ahead and makes the thermal detonators explode immediately. You don't have to wait, and anytime a thermal detonator explodes, she gets 20% turn meter for each living scoundrel ally. So let's step back for a moment. Let me explain what this means. So in this team that I'm showing you with all bounty hunters and scoundrels and thermal detonators, this means she would gain 100% turn meter at minimum from her basic when exploding a thermal detonator, because she gains 20% turn meter for each living scoundrel ally, and at minimum she is gaining 15% turn meter per thermal detonator exploding because of Boba Fett's lead. So if there are 2 thermal detonators being exploded, that is 30% more turn meter. But at minimum, if you just explode 1 thermal detonator, she will gain an additional 15% speed. So she will be really fast under a Boba Fett leadership. You will see plenty of times in the gameplay where once she goes ahead, uses Detonating Shot, she blows up all the thermal detonators and gets to go again because she gets way over 100% turn meter. And this also benefits the team. Every time a thermal detonator explodes, all the other bounty hunter allies get 15% turn meter. And unfortunately, we only have 3 bounty hunters on this team. We have Boba Fett, Zam Wessel, as well as Greedo. Mob Enforcer and Newt Gunray don't get anything, but the reason why they're here is to just constantly keep feeding thermal detonators on the field. So the reason why people want to see this is because everything sounds really good theoretically, but there are a lot of issues, as you will see in this video. Mainly, bounty hunters and scoundrels are not going to be fast enough to ever go first unless you have a turn meter boost of some sort like Stormtrooper Han. Amazing mods. I'm talking really good mods. In this gameplay, everyone at least has a plus 70, 80 speed. Zam Wessel had over plus 90 speed, and that still wasn't enough to go first most of the time because TIE Fighter pilot, Sith, they might go way before you. The other way to possibly address this speed issue is to go and get someone like TIE Fighter Pilot to open up the battle really fast, apply a lot of debuffs, and then this goes ahead and triggers Boba Fett's leadership to give plus 15 speed per debuffed enemy for all the bounty hunters on your side of the field. The other major problem that we have is that most teams, they have a cleanser of some sort like General Kenobi, Rex, Chirrut. Once they go ahead and cleanse all those thermal detonators, you just pretty much lost the whole purpose of having a thermal detonator team. These are some pretty big issues, and as you saw, most of the time I just retreated the battle because it was just clear that I was not going to win when I barely got through 5% of the enemy's protection. So my overall verdict on a full thermal detonator slash scoundrel slash bounty hunter team is that it's not going to be completely viable. For sure in the top 50, maybe in the top 100, probably when you're getting into like the 500s, that's when you can kind of play around and have fun. But if you want to be super competitive, you probably want to put this thermal detonator idea to the side. What would I do differently? Obviously, my opinion is don't run a full thermal detonator scoundrel team. And for sure, don't run Mob Enforcer, and you probably want to get rid of Nuke Gunray. But if you do want to still use the whole Zam Boba combo, because it is a lot of fun when it does work, you probably want to keep Greedo maybe to constantly keep feeding in those thermal detonators. He does some good damage, but you really need to look outside of the Scoundrel faction and maybe get a tank that can actually taunt, unlike Mob Enforcer. They're just a really bad character in the game. And the last thing I want to talk about is what this team needs to be really good, because we really haven't had a Scoundrel bounty hunter meta ever. I think this was an attempt to make it happen, but as we kind of see here, a full Scoundrel bounty hunter team might not be happening, unlike a complete First Order team, complete Sith team, complete Rebel team, complete Jedi team. All those guys work great when they're in their faction. Here, it's not really showing all that well. So if I had the power to do whatever I'd like in this game, I would try to create a leader for bounty hunters, scoundrels, thermal detonators, whatever you'd like it to be some sort of a Maul lead, Kenobi lead, or maybe a Darth Vader lead, where either they get a big amount of turn meter at the very start of the game, just like Darth Maul, maybe get some immediate bonuses that are not hinged on potency, like Kenobi. If you are just a Jedi or a clone, you immediately gain benefits. You don't have to play around with potency, you don't need to be with such and such allies, and also maybe a Vader type of leader where thermal detonators could never be dispelled. That would be pretty crazy to see. I would love to see that in action, and who knows, they could rework thermal detonators to maybe do more than just being applied, maybe do some initial damage when applying a thermal detonator, or maybe just create some brand new leader or brand new character that can do what I just said, make thermal detonators never explode. Might be very powerful, I don't know. You guys let me know down below what you think of this whole faction, and what would you do personally to change them up. Overall, though, it was definitely fun to do this, but not viable at all, and I wish I could have gotten better gameplay, but there was just really no way of doing it, even when having super amazing mods. So thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead, like this video, comment down below, and subscribe. And we will talk again soon. Peace out.